Have you ever entered a public bathroom and noticed that person walking right past the mirror, as if it didn't even exist? Or, at home, do you cover all reflections with towels, stickers, or even turn the mirror upside down? While most of us look at our own faces dozens of times a day, whether to adjust our hair, check our expression, or simply recognize ourselves, they seem to do everything they can to avoid seeing ourselves. At first glance, it may sound like mere carelessness or eccentricity, but behind this apparently trivial habit hides a psychological labyrinth that is as complex as it is fascinating. It's not frills, nor invented drama. Avoiding mirrors is not a crime, and anyone who does so is not necessarily in crisis. It may just be a preference, a lighter way of living, without the tyranny of self-image. After all, why would anyone need to look at themselves if they already know what it's like? But when this behavior becomes systematic, when the mirror becomes an almost forbidden object, the story changes. Because, deep down, a mirror isn't just a piece of glass with silver on the back, it's a portal to identity, and some people prefer to keep that door closed. Imagine, for a moment, that every time you look in the mirror, something hurts. It's not the image itself, but what it represents. Maybe it's the memory of a body that was once different, a face that aged without permission, or an expression that doesn't match what you feel inside. For those who struggle with dysmorphia, eating disorders, or depression, the mirror doesn't reflect, it accuses. Every line, every stain, every pound more or less becomes a silent sentence: you are not enough. And who, in their right mind, would want to face such a ruthless judge every day? But it's not just visible wounds that keep people away from mirrors. There are also those who avoid seeing each other because they don't recognize each other. It could be the effect of a big change, drastic weight loss, surgery, a gender transition, or simply the feeling that the person in the reflection doesn't match your essence. It's as if the mirror lied, showed a stranger. In this case, running away from him is not cowardice, it is self-preservation. Because it is easier to live with doubt than with the certainty that the world sees you in a way that you are not. And then there are the mirror philosophers, those who avoid reflection for an almost existential reason. For them, looking too much at themselves is a trap. It's falling into the illusion that appearance defines identity, that self-esteem depends on a perfect angle or a day without pimples. These people understand, deep down, that life is not a selfie, it is made of sensations, memories, and connections that no silver glass can capture. They prefer to feel themselves rather than see a two-dimensional version of who they are. And in a way, that's a form of wisdom. Who needs a mirror when you have your own skin to live in? But, and there's always a but, when avoidance becomes obsessive, when a person not only looks away but destroys or hides all the mirrors around them, it can be a sign that something deeper is at play. Sometimes it's the fear of facing one's own mortality. After all, the mirror is the cruelest clock there is. Other times, it's guilt, as if looking at yourself is a forbidden act of vanity, a sin against humility. And there are cases, the most painful ones, in which the mirror is avoided because the person simply can't bear to see themselves anymore. Not out of vanity, but out of disgust. If you are one of these people, no, you are not strange, nor selfish, nor sick. You just found a way to deal with a world that insists on judging by appearance. Perhaps you learned, between the lines of life, that true intimacy is not in what you see, but in what you feel. And that, in the end, the most important mirror is the one that doesn't need glass to function, the mirror of self-perception, hence, it internal dialogue that only you hear. Because, deep down, the problem was never the mirror. That's what he represented, the pressure of being perfect, the anguish of not fitting in, the fear of not being loved for who he really is. And if avoiding the reflex is the way you found to free yourself from these bonds, then there's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, it can be the first step to truly seeing yourself, not with your eyes, but with your soul. If this text resonated with you, tell us in the comments, what is your relationship with mirrors? Have you also felt this discomfort? Share with those who need to hear that they are not alone. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next insights. Because, after all, we don't need mirrors to see ourselves, we just need to have the courage to look inside. Until next time. The depth of the broken mirror, when avoiding your own reflection, is an act of quiet rebellion. There is something profoundly revolutionary about someone who refuses the mirror. Not because of the inverted vanity of those who think they are above appearances, but because of the courage to challenge a world that taught us to measure our value in centimeters of waist, skin filters, or symmetrical smiles. You, who look away from your own reflection, may not know it, but you are rewriting the rules of a game you never asked to play. Think about it. Since we were children, we are taught to look in the mirror before leaving the house. Fix your hair, put on more lipstick, that angle flatters you. The mirror becomes a silent judge, and we learn, without wanting to, that existing is performing. But what if you, at some point, got tired of the theater? What if, instead of adjusting the mask, you decided to break the mirror or at least, ignore it? This is not indifference. It's resistance. The mirror as a battlefield, when reflection becomes an enemy. For some people, the mirror is not an object. He's an opponent. A daily reminder of everything the world demands they be and that they secretly refuse to be. For those who have struggled with eating disorders, the mirror is the executioner that repeats, "You are not enough yet." For those who grow old in a society obsessed with youth, he is the cruel clock marking the time that never comes back. For those who are judged by their appearance, he is the echo of the voices that once said, "You're not pretty enough." And so, avoiding the mirror isn't cowardice, it's survival. It's the body's way of saying, enough is enough. I'm no longer going to let myself be hurt by something that doesn't define who I am. But here's the paradox. When you stop looking at yourself, you start to really see yourself. The freedom of detachment. What happens when you stop measuring yourself? Imagine, for a second, living without mirrors. You wake up and don't run to check the dark circles under your eyes. You wear what feels good to you, not what looks good. You leave the house without asking yourself if you are presentable. Sound like a relief? And because, without the mirror, you stop being a product and return to being a human being. Of course, society will try to pull you back. What do you mean, you don't get ready, you don't care? But the truth is, you care, just not about the right things they think matter. And that, my friend, is pure freedom. The mirror within, when the true image doesn't need glass. Here's the secret no one tells you. The most honest mirror doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your choices, your laughs, your emotional scars, and the way you treat others. Have you ever seen how your eyes light up when you talk about what you love? Have you ever noticed how your posture changes when you are in a place where you feel safe? Have you ever noticed that, when you're really happy, you don't even care if you have a pimple or a strand of hair out of place? This is self-knowledge. And it doesn't need glass to exist. The physical mirror shows what you are on the outside. But the mirror of the soul shows who you are inside, and no one can distort that. What if the motto not you, but the mirror itself? We grow up thinking that the mirror shows the truth. But what if he lies? He doesn't show the sleepless nights studying. It doesn't reflect the times you held the hand of someone who was crying. It doesn't reveal the strength he had to rebuild himself. The mirror is limited. It only captures a fraction of who you are. And if you stopped believing in him, it could be because, deep down, you already know that he is much more than he can show. An invitation. Break the mirror, or at least stop looking at it in fear. If you've recognized yourself so far, I have a challenge for you. Go a day without looking in the mirror. Not out of hate, not out of shame, but out of curiosity. To discover what it's like to exist without judging yourself. To feel the weight that comes off your back when you stop measuring yourself. And if, at the end of the day, you feel lighter, know that it's no coincidence. It's because, for the first time in a long time, you allowed yourself to be. To reflect, no need for a mirror. Sparkles, if you could only see one thing in the mirror for the rest of your life, what would it be? Your courage. Your resilience. Your smile after overcoming something difficult. Sparkles, what would you do if you knew that no one would ever judge you by your appearance? Sparkles, when was the last time you looked at yourself and thought, I'm fine like this? Leave it in the comments. What is your relationship with mirrors? Have you ever felt like they are more of a hindrance than a help? Share this text with anyone who needs to hear that they are not alone and that, sometimes, the best image is the one we carry inside. And if you liked this reflection, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Because here, we talk about what really matters, and that, my friend, has no price or filter. Until next time. Oh, and remember, the mirror only shows what you allow it to see. Dizzy. What if the mirror was not an enemy, but a teacher? Imagine waking up tomorrow and, when you look in the mirror, instead of seeing a body, you see all the versions of yourself that have ever existed. The child who cried on the first day of school. The teenager who thought he was invisible. The adult who, even though tired, still believes in reinvention. The mirror is not a judge. It's a file. It holds not only your scars, but also the times you rose again without anyone seeing. The nights you held yourself alone. The smiles that were born after tears that no one wiped away. What if, instead of looking for flaws, you used this reflection to remember where you came from? To realize that each Ruginia is a map of the battles you won without even knowing you were fighting? To reflect, with hands on heart, not on face. Sparkles, if the mirror could talk, what secret would it tell about you that you haven't heard yet? That day when you thought you were a failure, but you were actually just exhausted. The time you smiled at a stranger and unknowingly saved their day. Sparkles, what would you say to the version of yourself that appears in the mirror on bad days? Remember, she just needs a hug, not a lecture. Sparkles, which part of your body have you hated, but today you're grateful for carrying you this far? The feet that took you away from what hurt you. The hands that created things you didn't even know you were capable of. The mirror no one showed you. There is a type of mirror that society does not sell. It's not the perfect makeup, nor the angle that hides the belly. It is the one that reflects. The strength you had when you thought you were going to fall apart. The courage to say no when everyone expected you to say yes. The patience to wait for something worthwhile. That mirror is not on the wall. It's in the memory of your skin. In brands that only you know. In the voice that whispers you held on when the world screams give up. What if, today, you looked at yourself in him? Challenge, for those who have the courage to see themselves. 1. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now, open them and look in the mirror. 2. Find one thing. Just one that your body has done for you in the last few days. He held a hot cup of coffee when you were sad. He took you dancing alone in the kitchen. He survived another day that you thought you wouldn't make it. 3. Give thanks. Out loud. Even if it's a whisper. Because the mirror only shows what you allow it to see. And today, how about allowing him to show you what you've overcome instead of what you lack? Leave it in the comments. When was the last time you were positively surprised by something your body or mind did? X. Today I got out of bed when I just wanted to disappear, or my arms carried my shopping alone, small victory. Share this text with anyone who needs to remember that the most powerful image there is the one we build with our own hands, not with filters, but with history. And if you felt that this text was the hug you needed, turn on notifications. Because here we talk about the things that really hurt, really heal, and really matter, and that doesn't fit in a 15-second story. Until the next reflection. And remember, the most honest mirror is the one that shows your tears and your smiles after the storm. Raincloud # yellow heart. P.S. If today the mirror was cruel, close your eyes and imagine this text as a note stuck to it. You are not what you see. You are what you lived, what you loved, what you lost, and what you chose not to give up. And that, my love, has no price or reflection. The mirror that doesn't show everything, and why that's lucky. Have you ever stopped to think that the mirror is the only object that lies by omission? It reflects your image, but never shows. The sleepless nights that sculpted the strength in your eyes. The difficult decisions that left invisible marks on your hands. The silent courage to rise again when no one was looking. Today, how about if you turned your back on him? Not literally, then you hit the wall, but metaphorically. Because the mirror only captures what the light touches, and you, my love, are made of shadows that also shine. The mirror matrix, or why you are not a reflection. We grow up thinking that beauty is what we see. But what about what you don't see? The scar on your knee from that bicycle fall at age 8, which today is a map of where you've been. The expression lines that only appear when you really laugh, and not in those forced smiles for photos. An upright posture after carrying loads that no one can see. The mirror doesn't show the before and after. It does not show that. Heavy checkmark. Those dark circles are medals of someone who fought insomnia to finish a project. Heavy checkmark. That messy hair is proof that you prioritized living instead of imprisoning yourself in patterns. Heavy checkmark. This belly was once home to a lifetime, or housed anxieties that you transformed into resilience. The mirror is an honest liar. It only tells half the truth. What the mirror never told you, but I will. 1. You are not what ages, you are what matures. Every line on your face is a verse of a story that only you lived. And history, my dear, has no age. 2. Your body is not an unfinished project. It's a 3D diary. It stretched to hug those it loved, shrank to fit in tight spaces, and survived everything you survived. 3. The clearest image of you is in the eyes of those who love you. Ask your grandmother, your dog, or that friend who sees you without a filter and without judgment. They see you whole. 4. The mirror only shows what the light illuminates. But you shine even in the dark. Have you noticed how the moon doesn't need the sun to be seen? So it is. Radical experiment. Do it right now. Today, before you look in the mirror, do this. 1. Close your eyes. 2. Touch a place in your body that has already saved you, your hands, which worked, your feet, which took you far, your chest, which sheltered courage. 3. Say it out loud. I am more than a reflection. I am what I have experienced, what I have overcome and what I will conquer. Now open your eyes. Now look. Leave it in the comments. Which part of your body holds a story that the mirror doesn't show? X. My bitten nails tell of the anxiety I conquered, or my wide feet remind me of all the races I won against myself. Share this text with anyone who needs to remember that the truest version of themselves does not fit into any mirror, not the magnifying ones, not the funhouse ones, not the ones that society shoves down their throats. And if you felt less alone today after reading this, turn on notifications. Because here we talk about things that really hurt, really heal and really matter, and that doesn't fit into a 30-second reel or a story that disappears in 24 hours. Until the next reflection. And remember, the most beautiful mirror is the one you break when you decide to see yourself beyond it. Electric light bulb. P.S. If the mirror was cruel today, write it on this imaginary post-it and stick it on it. I am not what you reflect. I am the one who survived what you don't show. Dry tears. The laughter that hurt your stomach. The times I chose to rebuild myself, instead of surrendering. And that, mirror. It's pure art. PPS. Have you ever stopped to think that mirrors are invented by others, but your image is yours? Today, break the script. Fire.